In China, there is a saying, egui bushilu, egui bushilu. The hungry ghost does not know its way, but that's not quite true. Hungry ghosts know exactly where they're going. They follow the smell of burning oil and roasted meat. They follow the laughter of families. They follow the living to night markets that exist in the space between dusk and dawn. And if you're not careful, if you buy from the wrong vendor, eat the wrong food, or pay with the wrong currency, you might discover that some markets don't let you leave, not as you were. Tonight, we travel to Chengdu in Sichuan province, to a story that has been deliberately erased from city records. A story about a night market that appears only during the Hungry Ghost Month, the 7th lunar month, when the gates of the underworld open and the dead walk among the living. This is not the sanitized version tourists hear. This is what the locals whisper about when foreigners aren't listening. This is about the market on Funan Road, a street that officially doesn't exist anymore, demolished in 2003, paved over, turned into a parking lot. But every year, during the 15th night of the 7th month, the Ghost Festival, if you know where to look, the market returns, the vendors return, and they're very, very hungry. This is the story of Jaden, a food blogger from Shanghai, who went looking for authentic Sichuan street food and found something that had been waiting for him since the day he was born. Jaden arrived in Chengdu on August 28, 2019. The Ghost Festival was in 3 days, and he had spent months researching a legend that kept appearing in deleted forum posts and censored social media threads. Whispers of a phantom market that sold food so delicious people would risk their lives to taste it again. Urban legend, his producer said over video chat. Perfect content. Get some B-roll, interview some superstitious locals, make it spooky, but fun. Jaden wasn't superstitious. He was a rationalist who had built a following by debunking food myths and exposing fake, haunted restaurants. This would be easy content. He checked into a capsule hotel near Tianfu Square and began asking around. Most people gave him blank stares. A few elderly shopkeepers changed the subject quickly, suddenly very busy rearranging inventory. One old woman grabbed his wrist with surprising strength. "Don't go," she hissed. "That market eats people." Jaden laughed nervously and pulled away. "It's just food, Auntie." "Boo," she said, shaking her head. "No. You are the food." That night, he couldn't sleep. His phone's GPS kept glitching, showing a street labeled Funan Lu, Funan Road, appearing and disappearing from the map like a pulse. When he looked up the address on Baidu Maps, he got an error message. This location does not exist. But it did exist. He found archived satellite photos from 2002, a narrow street lined with food stalls, red lanterns strung between buildings, smoke rising in gray columns. And in one photo, he had to zoom in to see it. All the vendors were facing away from the camera, all of them, at the exact same moment, as if they had heard something behind them, something that had nothing to do with the photographer. On the night of August 30th, the Ghost Festival Eve, Chen Wei took a taxi to the coordinates where Funan Road used to be. The driver dropped him off at a parking lot surrounded by modern apartment complexes. "Jayli Shima do Mayo," the driver said. "There's nothing here." Jaden paid and got out. The taxi sped away faster than necessary. The parking lot was empty. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. A wind that smelled like old grease and incense moved between the cars. Jaden checked his watch. 11:47 p.m. At exactly 11:58 p.m., his phone's compass started spinning. The fluorescent lights flickered once, twice, then died. In the darkness, he heard it, vendors calling out in sing-song Sichuanese. The sizzle of meat on hot griddles, laughter and conversation, and the clatter of dishes. The lights came back on, but they weren't fluorescent anymore. They were red lanterns, swaying gently though there was no wind. The parking lot was gone. The apartment buildings were gone. In their place, a narrow street lined with food stalls, exactly as the archived photo had shown. Steam rose in the cool night air. People crowded around vendors, pointing at skewers and bowls, money changing hands. Funan Road had returned. Jaden's hands shook as he pulled out his camera. This was impossible. This was... First time here? a voice beside him. Jaden spun. A young woman stood there, maybe 25, wearing a qipao that looked vintage, 1940s style, embroidered with peonies. Her makeup was perfect, too perfect. Porcelain white foundation, lips painted in a perfect bow, but her eyes didn't reflect the lantern light. Jaden stammered, Yes. She smiled. Welcome. Be careful what you buy. Why? He asked. But she was already walking away, her figure dissolving into the crowd like watercolor in rain. Pacing quickens, adds subtle wrongness to the ambient sounds, voices occasionally reversed, coins hitting surfaces with wet sounds. Jaden walked deeper into the market, camera rolling. The smell was intoxicating. Chili oil, cumin, grilled lamb, smoke thick enough to taste. Steam rose from bowls of dandan noodles. Whole fish sizzled on iron plates dusted with Sichuan peppercorn. Soup dumplings glistened like pearls under the lanterns. But something was wrong. The customers, they were eating, yet the food never went down. A man bit into a baozi, but the bun remained whole. A woman slurped noodles forever from a bowl that never emptied. Their lips moved, their jaws worked, but nothing was swallowed. The act of eating seemed to feed something else entirely. And the vendors, Jaden realized they never blinked, not once. He stopped at a stall selling chuan chui xiang, Sichuan skewers in bubbling red broth. The vendor was round-faced, smiling, apron stained from years of work. He looked alive, until Chen Wei noticed the name tag, Lao Zhang. 1967 to 2003 old Zhang. Birth and death dates. "Young man!" the vendor called. "Best skewers, fresh meat." Jaden swallowed. "How much?" 10 yuan. He lifted his phone to scan the code. The vendor's grin widened, teeth too sharp, too many. No, he said, tapping a small sign Jaden hadn't seen before. Jishou Jichen He Ji. We only accept paper money and memories. I don't have any, Jaden said. The vendor's eyes went black and deep as pits. Then perhaps you have memories? What? Memories, your most delicious memory. The first time you ate your mother's cooking, your first love, your happiest summer. His breath smelled of star anise and formaldehyde. Jaden stepped back. I don't. Everyone pays, the vendor whispered. With currency, or with yourself. A cold hand touched Jaden's shoulder. He almost screamed. An old man stood there, skeletal, skin gray, Mao suit decades out of date. Don't give him memories, the old man whispered. You give memories, you forget. You forget. You stay. Who are you? Someone who was once like you. I came in 1989, gave my daughter's memory for a bowl of noodles. He raised trembling, translucent hands. Now I can't remember her face. Each year, I fade. Soon, nowhere. Not alive, not dead, just gone. Jaden glanced at his camera. It showed only static and shapes moving in shadow. How do I leave? The old man pointed down the endless street. The end of the market, but what? You can't leave empty-handed. Market rules. You must buy something. Otherwise, you become merchandise. Jaden walked faster, trying to reach the dimming lanterns. But the street stretched, twisting on itself. Every few steps, new stalls appeared. The vendors all turned toward him in perfect unison, like flowers tracking some unseen sun. They called out, "Friend, try this. Last chance." Voices layered atop one another until they became a single many-mouthed chorus. He passed a stinky tofu stall. The smell was overwhelming, not fermented bean curd, but decay. The vendor, a young woman holding a cleaver, smiled too widely. "Fresh," she said, then pointed to her tag, Xiaomei, 1976 to 2003, 2003 again. They all died in 2003. The pieces fell into place. Jaden remembered his research the Funan Road demolition. Officially, 12 casualties. Unfortunate accident. Unofficial whispers spoke of more than 100. Vendors, diners, the homeless, buried alive beneath rebar and concrete. The government paved it over and called it redevelopment. A voice behind him, "You understand now." He turned. The woman in the chapao had returned. Up close, her beauty was fractured. The right side of her face collapsed inward, bone and shadow visible beneath painted skin. "We died, but we're still hungry," she said softly. "Every night we hunger, for memories, for life, for what we lost." She leaned close. "You can help us. Give us your happiest moments. In return, we'll let you go." "And if I refuse?" Her smile widened, porcelain cracked. "Then you join the menu." She pointed to a small wooden cart. No lanterns, no sound, just a handwritten sign, "Today's Special." Underneath, a list of names and years. At the bottom, fresh red ink, Jaden, 2019. Jaden ran. He tore through rows of stalls. Vendors reached with hands that split into too many fingers. Faces sagged like melting wax. Children selling candied fruit stared with painted eyes. The market bent and folded, repeating itself like a nightmare that couldn't end. Jaden voices echoed from every direction. Overlapping. Jaden, Jaden. Then, a gap. A space where no lantern light reached. A hole in the world. The old man stood there, now almost transparent. "Through there," he whispered. "But you must leave something behind." "I have nothing," Jaden gasped. The old man's fading eyes looked at the camera. "The recording. Give them that. They want to be remembered, to be seen." Behind him, footsteps, hundreds of them closing in. "Hurry." Jaden pulled the SD card from his camera and dropped it to the ground. Silence. Then soft weeping. Not anguish. Relief. "Xie xie," they whispered. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." The woman in the chipao appeared again, tears sliding down her ruined cheek. "Now people will know," she said. "We're here. We're still here." She pointed toward the gap. "Go, before dawn." Jaden stumbled through. And hit concrete. Cold. Real. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The parking lot. The world had returned. The SD card slot was empty. His phone read 6:47 a.m., September 1st. He'd been gone 7 hours, though it felt like minutes. His clothes smelled of incense and smoke. His hands were greasy, though he hadn't eaten. He tried to remember the faces, the stalls, the names, but the memories slid away like water through his fingers. He remembered only fear, only hunger. He had left more than a recording behind. He packed, left for Shanghai, and never spoke of it. He told his producer the footage was lost, that he'd gotten food poisoning, that nothing worth filming had happened. But he couldn't let it go. He found the demolition permits, the missing person lists, 12 official, 127 whispered. Archived articles vanished. Forum threads deleted within hours. Someone, or something, was erasing it all. Then, a year later, August 30th, 2020, a package arrived. Inside, his SD card, a note written in elegant brushstrokes on paper that smelled like incense. "You kept your promise. Now, we keep ours. Tell our story, but every time you do, burn paper money for those who were forgotten. Otherwise, next time you come, you stay." Jaden inserted the SD card. The footage was intact. Every face, every name tag, every whispered plea. At the end, one final shot he didn't remember filming. All the vendors standing in a row, silent, staring into the camera. Behind them, in the shadows, hundreds more. Waiting. Hoping. Jaden published the story. This time, it stayed. It spread across social media like wildfire. Ghost hunters came. Families of the missing left offerings. Incense, paper money, bowls of noodles. Under pressure, the city built a memorial, listing the names of the confirmed dead. Every ghost festival, Jaden returns. He brings paper money and a bowl of Dan Dan noodles. Xiaomei favorite. He never sees the market again, but sometimes, near midnight, the air thickens with the scent of peppercorns and smoke, and once, he swears, he heard a soft voice, familiar and grateful. "Thank you for remembering us." This is the story they tried to erase. 100 souls buried beneath concrete, condemned to serve forever, hungry for the one thing they were denied, to be remembered. If you ever smell food too perfect to be real and follow it to a market that shouldn't exist, remember, some vendors don't want your money, they want your memories. And if you give them, you might forget the way home, but maybe that's fair. Maybe we owe the dead that much. A memory, a story, a name.
Subscribe if you